My husband fell for a vibrant, spirited college student and suggested I try an open marriage. I asked for a divorce, and he looked at me in surprise, then scoffed. Ava, if you divorce me, who else would ever want you? A month later, the most mysterious mogul in Coast Harbor held me by the waist, raising an eyebrow as he asked, "Your ex-husband is right next door. Want to go take a look?" Giving in to recklessness, I smiled lightly. Sure. Let's go meet your predecessor. When David came back, he excitedly shared how he'd never met anyone so compatible. They went skydiving together, skiing together, climbed to the peak of Eagle Peak together. They were soulmates, each other's muses. Ava, you should go out and see the world too, or maybe date someone. Honestly, we got married too early. We mistook habit for love. How about we try an open marriage? David's face glowed with sweetness as he generously suggested. I stared at David's handsome face, tracing his features from brow bone to jawline with my eyes. Less than 3 years after graduation, he already felt like a stranger. I paused, then gave a wry laugh. No need for all that trouble. Let's just get a divorce. Since you like her so much, I'll move out of the way. A flicker of surprise crossed David's eyes. Ava, you know your situation. If you divorce me, who else would ever want you? I froze for a moment, not expecting him to use that against me. Yes, what was my situation? My mother ran off with someone. My father was a compulsive gambler who drowned in a mud pit while drunk. Even my grandmother, who raised me, passed away a few years ago. I was alone in the world, a drifter, with no one to rely on. This was the vulnerability I had revealed to him when I was at my weakest, and now it had become his leverage against me. David was so certain I couldn't leave him that he dared to flaunt his affair right in front of me. His promise on our wedding day, that he would love and took care of me forever, felt like a sharp knife twisting repeatedly in my chest. I gasped for air, gripping the edge of the table, staring intently at him, my voice firm. I said, I want a divorce. David was stunned for a moment, a smile he didn't even realize was there playing on his lips. Since you insist on a divorce, there's nothing I can do. Ava, I'm not betraying you, you're forcing me to do this. Don't come crawling back to me later. As I went back to the room to pack my things, I overheard David talking to his friend. David, are you really going to divorce Ava? She thinks she can pressure me with divorce, so let her. Chloe's been clingy. I don't have time to deal with her petty jealousy. She has no family here. She'll come crawling back asking for reconciliation in a few days. A wave of bitterness washed over me. I threw the wedding photo and wedding ring I was holding directly into the trash can. The day of the divorce was bright and sunny. I saw the girl David called his soulmate. She was dressed in sportswear, with a high ponytail, full of vitality. Sister, you should get out more often. When people get old and can't keep up with the times, they tend to get left behind. She linked her arm through David's and got into the passenger seat of his car, giving me a provocative look. I wasn't even 25 yet, and someone was already calling me old. Someone carrying a mirror walked by on the roadside, and I caught a glimpse of myself in it. I had delicate features, long black hair, a curvy figure, and long legs. I was no less attractive than anyone else. On the way home, I tried hard to control my emotions, but the tears still wouldn't stop flowing. Bang! I crashed into a Rolls-Royce ahead. I quickly got out to apologize. A pair of long legs stepped out of the car in front of me. He had broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and wore a sharp suit. He looked cold and distinguished. It's you. The man broke the awkward silence. RST. I was puzzled for a moment, then suddenly remembered who the man in front of me was. David had mentioned him many times, the mysterious mogul in Coast Harbor, Alexander Sterling, the head of the Sterling Group, whom David's company had always wanted to collaborate with. I haven't even asked you for compensation, and you're crying like this. Alexander Sterling handed me a handkerchief, his tone unexpectedly gentle. No, you misunderstand. It's entirely my fault, and I will definitely compensate you. I just got divorced, and I couldn't control my emotions. I'm sorry. I explained in a hurry, afraid he might think I was trying to shirk responsibility. Divorced? Alexander Sterling asked again. I nodded. Good. What? A faint smile played on Alexander Sterling's lips as he slowly said, It's nothing. The weather is great today, we shouldn't waste time on such a small matter. Ms. Jiang, would you be willing to exchange contact information? We can discuss the compensation later. I was a little surprised and didn't recover for a long time. David had spent millions trying to get Alexander Sterling's phone number in WeChat, and now it was just sitting in my phone. Several days passed, and Alexander Sterling didn't mention the compensation. Even when I proactively asked, there was no reply. Big shots are big shots, they must be busy. Or perhaps he had 5 WeChat accounts and didn't check this one often. I saw Alexander Sterling again after a business dinner. I was a bit drunk and bumped into someone in the hallway. Alexander Sterling helped me up. Under the influence of alcohol, my emotions collapsed again, and I cried uncontrollably. Mr. Pei, I have something to attend to. We'll talk another time. My feet suddenly lifted off the ground. Alexander Sterling picked me up and carried me to his car. The atmosphere became somewhat. In the confined space, the hormones radiating from Alexander Sterling constantly stimulate my nerves. I had heard many stories about him. He took over the Sterling family at a young age and won the respect of the elders with his decisive methods. If you divorce me, who else will ever want you? David's words echoed in my mind, causing suffocating pain. Looking at the face in front of me, which was even more distinguished than David's, I couldn't help but lean closer. Ava, you're drunk. Alexander Sterling's fingers rested on my shoulder, his voice low. Maybe it was the alcohol, maybe it was the lingering resentment. I bravely pulled his hand away and leaned forward. Your lips look so soft. Would they be good to kiss? My mind went blank at that moment. I even forgot what Alexander Sterling replied. All I knew was his breath lingered on my nose, making my heart tremble. His lips were indeed soft, yet incredibly possessive. Breathe through your mouth, I did as I was told blankly. He cupped the back of my head, pulling me into a tumultuous kiss. His fingers slid down my waist, making me arch my back and press against his hot chest. His warm lips trailed downwards. In the world of adults, we both knew what was about to happen next. Alexander Sterling draped his suit jacket over my burning face and carried me into a nearby 7-star hotel. David, I think that's Alexander Sterling up ahead. Our project. David's car was parked not far away. Keep your eyes open. Don't ruin Alexander Sterling's mood. David leaned back in the seat languidly, a playful look on his face. Rumor has it he doesn't associate with women. Seems that's not entirely true. The ones you picked before were too low class. Go find some better ones. Understood, David. I heard Ava's at the shop up ahead today. Should we? David gave a cold laugh and rolled up the car window. Ignore her. She knows I'm coming today and wants to grab my attention. I'm tired of her stunts. Let's go to a different place. While we're at it, I'll buy her that set of jewelry she likes, so she stops making a fuss. Alexander Sterling pinned me against the door, his large body enclosing me tightly. The moment my clothes slipped off, I suddenly wanted to back out. Scared? Alexander Sterling's fingers traced slowly down my spine. My mind cleared for a moment. I shook my head slightly, wrapped my arms around his neck, and kissed him back. After being so conventional for so many years, what harm could one reckless night do? Moreover, the man in front of me was Alexander Sterling, whom countless people coveted. The night was deep, the moon just peeking out, stirring the spring water all night long. When I woke up, the sound of water came from the bathroom. A misty figure of a man's toned body was visible behind the fogged-up door. His waist was very slender, but he seemed strong. Recalling the madness of last night, my face flushed instantly. Alexander Sterling opened the door, the towel around his waist was a bit short, and I couldn't help but swallow. Even though I had seen it all last night, meeting his gaze up close still made me feel inexplicably drawn to him. David was right, I should date more. I hadn't experienced anything better, which was why I foolishly clung to him. but Alexander Sterling's family background was not suitable for me. What are you thinking about? Alexander Sterling's fingertip touched the back of my ear, followed by a light kiss. What followed was another wave of passion. While Alexander Sterling was taking a conference call in another room, I quietly dressed and left the hotel, blocking his contact information. This whole thing was just a mistake. People in the clouds were unattainable. To keep myself grounded, I agreed to a date with a college student. At a coffee shop on the corner, I was touching up my makeup when someone I didn't want to see appeared in front of me, Chloe. Sister, what a coincidence. Are you waiting for someone? Chloe sat down across from me uninvited. Her outfit today was sexy and bold. I wasn't interested in getting entangled with her. I picked up my bag, ready to move to another seat. The person sister is waiting for isn't coming. He's my junior, and I was the one who asked him to invite you out. I didn't expect sister to be so easy to get a date with. It seems you're not very popular and don't get pursued often. No wonder David said you were boring. Chloe's words made me stop. I turned around and splashed the unfinished coffee on the table onto her. Is breaking up other people's marriages something to be proud of? Should I go to your school and publicize it for you, so your juniors can admire you properly? Ava, don't go too far. David arrived just in time to see me bullying his precious little girlfriend and protectively shielded her behind him. Sister was stood up by my junior, which is why she's taking her anger out on me. It's okay, I'm fine. See, I'm perfectly all right. Chloe smiled, wiping the coffee stains off her face, and passionately defended me in front of David. A junior? Heh, Ava, when did you decide to date younger guys too? Remember what I said? If you divorce me, no one else will ever want you. Thousands of words were stuck in my throat. My heart felt like it was being crushed by a heavy weight. I looked at him and splashed the remaining coffee in the cup directly onto his face. David, you're disgusting. After doing that, I squeezed my sweating palms and dragged my tired body out of the coffee shop quickly. When I got home, the distinctive Rolls-Royce was parked in the neighborhood parking lot. Going upstairs, I found Alexander Sterling indeed standing at my door, his eyes bloodshot with fatigue. Mr. Pei, what a coincidence. I felt awkward and guilty, unsure what to say for a moment. Mr. Pei? That night, Alexander Sterling raised an eyebrow. I immediately covered his mouth nervously and pulled him inside after opening the door. Alexander Sterling Tr. Apped me in his arms, his kisses fierce and overwhelming. It wasn't until I was pinned beneath him that he lowered his gaze and asked, his voice chilling, Ava, do you know how many people want my contact information? Why did you block me? What did you take me for? A tool to relieve sadness, or a substitute for your ex-husband? His eyes were bottomless, making me afraid to meet them. The wild wind rustled the trembling branches. I couldn't help but tremble and bit his shoulder. Think carefully before you speak. For the next period, Alexander Sterling and I maintained a delicate balance. I had witnessed firsthand his unwavering resolve during negotiations. Beneath his outwardly gentle demeanor lay a ruthless, decisive nature. A man like him wouldn't lack for women. I really couldn't figure out why he was spending every day squeezed into my place. Perhaps it was the novelty. What do you want to eat? I'll take you out. Alexander Sterling put on his watch and buttoned his jacket, returning to his cool and distinguished state, a stark contrast to the beast of moments before. Anything is fine. I wasn't picky about food. Alexander Sterling took me directly to a high-end restaurant, the same one David used to love bringing friends to. Using new memories to overwrite old ones helps in moving on from the past. Alexander Sterling ordered several dishes directly. Only then did I realize he understood me better than I had imagined. Did you specifically choose this place? I couldn't help but voice the question in my mind. I want you, from now on, no matter where you walk, to think only of me. Alexander Sterling cut the steak and gently pushed it towards me. Mr. Pei, please don't joke. There is no after for us. I said, chuckling awkwardly. The man in front of me suddenly turned cold, his expression revealing an emotion that couldn't be shaken off. Ava, do you think I'm just some casual person? You provoked me. Aren't you planning to take responsibility? Mr. Pei, I'm divorced. I sighed. So? We're not suitable. You didn't say we weren't suitable when you wanted to kiss me. Now that you've had your fill, you want to distance yourself from me? Alexander Sterling stood up and leaned over the back of my chair, his hot breath fanning my face, his soft lips inches away. I still wanted to kiss him. David, are you really not going to see Ava? David's friend's voice came from outside the private room. I immediately held my breath. Let's wait until she comes to apologize on her own, David said coolly, a hint of impatience in his tone. He checked his phone. Ava had blocked all his contact methods and even unfriended him on social media. This time, she was being particularly difficult. It was time to teach her a lesson. Chloe will be here soon. Should I still order the dishes she likes? Whatever. You don't need to ask me about such things. Ava hadn't come to him asking for peace yet, so David had lost interest in Chloe as well. Perhaps he had been too harsh on Ava at the coffee shop that day. He could consider giving her an opening next time he saw her. During their time apart, David finally realized that compared to the fresh excitement outside, he still preferred Ava's stability. He and Ava were a match made in heaven, meant to be together forever. Order some flowers. Red roses. 1,000 red roses. My heart pounded in my chest, listening to David's voice move from near to far. Your ex-husband is right next door. Want to go take a look? Alexander Sterling held me by the waist, raising an eyebrow as he asked. Seeing him like this, I gave in to recklessness and smiled lightly. Sure. Let's go meet your predecessor. Ava! Alexander Sterling ground his teeth and lifted me directly onto the table. Don't test my patience. I panicked, kicking my legs wildly and exclaiming, Alexander Sterling, not here. I have no interest in performing in front of your ex-husband. Alexander Sterling said coolly and carried me back to my seat. Eat up. You'll need your strength. The implication made me blush a little. After dinner, I waited for Alexander Sterling by the door. By chance, I ran into David walking out of the restaurant with Chloe. Sister, what a coincidence. Are you waiting for someone? Chloe's eyes lit up when she saw me. She deliberately leaned closer to David. David seemed to be apprehensive and quickly let go of Chloe's hand. This action upset Chloe, but she didn't dare to show it to David. Instead, she turned her attention to me. Is sister waiting for David brother? I'm sorry, David brother promised to spend time with me, so he might not be able to bother with you. David watched me, his gaze intense, with a hint of anticipation. I was about to back away. Alexander Sterling walked slowly from behind him and put an arm around my shoulder. Do you know these people? I collected myself, glanced indifferently at David, and shook my head gently. No, I don't know them. Maybe they're sick. Chloe stomped her foot, fuming. I felt great and curved my lips into a smile. As I left, I caught a glimpse of David's eyes, red, as if he was suppressing some emotion intensely. The next day at work, everyone was looking at me mysteriously. I was puzzled and poked a colleague beside me, asking what was going on. Ava, I never knew David, the heir to the G family, was your husband. You kept it really quiet. He's so handsome, I'm so envious of you. My colleague was excited. After asking further, I found out that David had sent people over this morning and given gifts to everyone. David had asked everyone for help, saying he wanted to give me a surprise today. When we got married, he asked me to keep it a secret. Now that we were divorced, he suddenly made it known to everyone. Ava, come here quickly, another colleague exclaimed, covering her mouth, and waved me over to the window exit. Edley. David's sports car was parked downstairs, its wings spread open, flamboyant and eye-catching. He was leaning against the car hood, legs crossed, with 1,000 red roses beside him. Several drones hovered in the sky, displaying romantic confessions. Urged on by the cheering crowd, I was forced to go downstairs. Ava, I'm here to take you home. David held a newly bought diamond ring in his hand, his eyes full of affection. Oh my God, Ava sister, you must be incredibly lucky. You're married, and it's still so romantic. This diamond is huge. I felt inexplicably ironic and ruthlessly exposed David's stunt. David, we're divorced. This kind of deeply in love act is better suited for your precious little girlfriend. The crowd exchanged glances, quietly watching the drama unfold. My words made David lose face a little. He slowly retracted his hand, displeased. Ava, you've been making a scene long enough. Perhaps mindful of the onlookers, he quickly reined in his temper and softened his tone. I apologize this time. You win. I've already spoken to your boss. You don't have to work today. I'll take you to the aquarium you always wanted to go to, just the two of us. I took a deep breath, really not wanting to make a scene in front of my colleagues. David, I'll say it again, we are divorced. If you think divorce was just a way for me to threaten you, I suggest you go back and take a good look at the divorce certificate. We have no relationship now. Please stop interfering with my life. Also, even if we weren't divorced, you have no right to interfere with my job. David glanced at his assistant not far away, signaling him to dismiss the people around. As if he didn't understand my words, he continued, I'll send Chloe abroad. She won't appear around us anymore. Isn't that what you wanted? I don't know how you managed to get Alexander Sterling to pretend with you in front of me. But now, I admit defeat. What else do you want? NT. I was speechless. The problem between us was never Chloe. Didn't you say I should go date someone? We got married too early and mistook habit for love. Alexander Sterling is better than you, and he has better taste. I think he's 100 times better than you. David stared at me blankly, his eyes glistening slightly with tears, pleading softly, Ava, don't. Too lazy to waste time with him, I was about to leave, but he grabbed my arm excitedly. David's gaze suddenly fell on my neck, and he anxiously demanded, were you hooking up with him behind my back all along? Looking at the exasperated David, I laughed. We're divorced. Does it have anything to do with you? You wanted an open marriage, I didn't. I'm not the same type of person as you, which is why I chose divorce. After the divorce, I can be with whoever I want. Is that any of your business? David looked at me hurt, somewhat lost. I didn't. I never intended to really divorce you. We met in college, it's been 7 years. Who else could understand each other better, be more suitable for each other than us? David struggled to control his emotions. He lowered his gaze for a moment, as if having made up his mind, then looked at me again, his voice low. I've cut ties with Chloe, and you cut ties with him too. Let's remarry and be good. I'll never make you sad again, okay? Remarry, and then wait for you to tell me again that you met someone you fell in love with at first sight. You couldn't help but be drawn to her, think about her, be curious about her? Waiting for you to tell me not to focus all my attention on you because it gives you pressure? David, even if we started over, none of this would change. I struggled to break free from his grip, stepped back 2 paces, and called for security. The knife doesn't hurt until it cuts you. David's generous suggestion of an open marriage was merely because he was certain of my nature and that I wouldn't do a thing. He even thought my asking for a divorce was just me throwing a tantrum. He made excuses for his distraction, but once it genuinely threatened his own interests, everything changed. It had started to drizzle from somewhere in the sky. David was still standing there, his hands hanging at his sides, clutching the diamond ring he hadn't given away. It's raining. I'll come pick you up later. Alexander Sterling sent me a message. I hesitated for a moment, unsure how to reply. Our relationship with Alexander Sterling now didn't really need to be hidden. But the scene David had made here was genuinely awkward. After thinking for a long time, I finally decided to tell him directly about David's visit. So? He came? Does that mean I can't? Wait for me obediently. Alexander Sterling's reply came quickly. I looked at the message I had repeatedly drafted and deleted, finally deleting it all and replying with a simple, okay. David could never understand how, in just a month, such an insurmountable gap had formed between him and Ava. He had even compromised, willing to completely let go of the past and start over together. Why was Ava still so unforgiving? Looking at Ava's resolute retreating back, David felt helpless and disheartened. At that moment, he suddenly realized that perhaps from the moment he agreed to the divorce, he and Ava could never go back. Perhaps even earlier. From the moment he started finding Ava troublesome and boring, even admitting directly in front of her that he had fallen for someone else at first sight. He really hadn't expected her to directly ask for a divorce. How dare she? She had no family, how could she possibly leave him? He hadn't bothered with her then, certain that Ava would come back begging him to remarry. Since Chloe was a bit clingy, he was happy to have some space. The first few days after Ava moved out were nothing special. But later, he found himself unconsciously checking his phone for messages, constantly scrolling through her social media feed until he was blocked. He missed Ava. When he closed his eyes, all he saw was Ava. David, let's have 2 children later, one like you and one like me, okay? The year they graduated, he couldn't wait to propose to her. Ava excitedly threw herself into his arms, looking forward to their sweet married life. Back then, David was everything in Ava's heart and eyes. Now, he could only watch Ava's back, getting farther and farther away. Was the new diamond ring he bought not beautiful enough? Or was the outfit he wore today not to her liking? David stubbornly waited downstairs at the company until Ava appeared, conveniently letting out a sneeze. Ava noticed the sound and her gaze fell in his direction. David wanted to go forward with a look of grievance but was blocked by the Rolls-Royce that suddenly pulled in. The man in the car held a black umbrella, shielding Ava tightly in his arms. David couldn't see the man's face, but he recognized the license plate. It was Alexander Sterling's car. That Ava could hook up with Alexander Sterling was something David had considered utterly impossible, but reality had just delivered a harsh slap to his face. After the Rolls-Royce drove away, the assistant quickly held an umbrella for David, cautiously asking, "David, it seems Ava left." "Everyone, get the hell out!" David irritably threw off the umbrella and furiously kicked the car hood. Thinking of the woman Alexander Sterling carried into the hotel that night, whose figure was strikingly similar to Ava's, his heart grew even more resentful. Alexander Sterling took me to a place, the Sterling family estate. Mr. Sterling and Mrs. Sterling were even more welcoming than I had imagined. Just dealing with their concern was exhausting. Alexander has finally brought someone home. He's been alone all these years. I was really worried he was going to live out his life alone. Mrs. Sterling smiled, holding my hand, her eyes full of relief. Well, that might be a stretch. I felt a bit awkward, unsure how to respond. In the years before, I hadn't had much experience getting along well with elders other than my grandmother. When I married David, his family looked down on my background, so he rarely took me back there. The young man back then had threatened his family with death to be with me. But in just 3 years, his mother's words had come true. "You're young and hot-headed now, you don't know what you want. You'll regret it later." Did David regret it? Perhaps he regretted it long ago, unwilling to give up the colorful world outside for me. Alexander had an accident when he was little. Your uncle and I were busy with work and didn't pay enough attention to him. As a result, he was kidnapped by human traffickers and suffered greatly in a rural town. Mrs. Sterling's words brought me back to reality. I hadn't expected Alexander Sterling to have such a past. I looked at him with mixed emotions, just as he met my gaze. He quickly walked over, took my hand, and led me back to the room. "If you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to come here often in the future. Ava, I brought you here because I wanted to tell you. I'm serious about you, so you need to give me a title." Alexander Sterling's tone was sincere. His sudden confession made me feel a bit flustered. "Alexander Sterling, what do you like about me? It's not that you like married women, is it?" Alexander Sterling's face froze, his expression helpless. "So that's how you see me?" He held me as I sank into the soft bed. Alexander Sterling's eyes seemed to want to devour me. The expected storm didn't come. He gently held me and slowly said, "More than 10 years ago, I was kidnapped and sold to a dilapidated rural town. Because I kept trying to escape, I was beaten a lot. But there, I met a little girl whose father was a compulsive gambler and whose mother had run away. Her clothes were tattered, she didn't have enough to eat or wear, but she was always cheerful. I asked her what she had to be happy about. She told me that if you smiled more, the sadness would be less. Her gambler father beat her until she coughed up blood, but she didn't shed a single tear. She patted herself and cheered herself on at the same time. In this village I hated, there was actually a little girl who could be so strong. I wouldn't have survived that terrible life if it wasn't for you. But seeing you, everything seemed not so bad. Because of that strength, I held on until my family found me. It's a pity you moved away, and I couldn't find you. You looked for me? After my compulsive gambler father drowned in the mud pit, my grandmother took me in, and I moved around with her, trying to make a living. I looked for you for a long time. It wasn't until a few years ago that I finally got news of you. You were still as resilient and confident as I remembered. At that time, you were already with someone, and even got married right after graduation, an early marriage. Alexander Sterling's chin rested on my forehead, and he sighed softly. I just didn't expect that the little girl who used to grit her teeth and endure even when she was beaten until she was covered in bruises would cry so sadly. When you said you were divorced then, I felt a hint of despicable joy. Ava, I'm so happy to have this opportunity to be by your side. Now, are you still going to say we're not suitable? I didn't say anything, telling him my answer with my actions. The person I had been, suppressed and worn down by David little by little, slowly woke up after leaving him. Alexander Sterling was exceptionally gentle that night, and the moonlight was also very gentle. From that day on, David came to block me at the company entrance again and again, constantly apologizing to me. Ava, I won't give up. If you ever regret it, you can always find me. I'll stay right here. David's eyes were sincere, his affection deep. For a moment, it felt like he was the same person who pursued me in college. David, if you can go 3 months without contacting Chloe or any other women, I can reconsider our relationship. Hearing me say that, David's face lit up with joy, and he repeatedly promised me. Chloe had already been sent away, and his current assistant was male. This would be easy for him. After sending David away, I finally breathed a sigh of relief, my nerves, strained by his harassment, relaxing. Initially, David continued to send me frequent updates on his situation, but after a while, he fell silent. Just like every promise he had made before, it was torn up by his own hand. This was all within my expectations. Soon after, the society wedding of the G family heir appeared on the entire front page of the entertainment magazine. My name, as the ex-wife, also had the honor of being reported, squeezed into the most inconspicuous corner on the bottom right. Unlike the bright and beautiful bride-to-be, I was described as an ordinary, disrespectful to elders, unstable and jealous, and having a chaotic private life. It turned out Chloe hadn't gone abroad but was pregnant with David's child and had been secretly hiding in the countryside. Recently, heavily pregnant, she had found the G family and the media, causing a public uproar. With sweet words, she had managed to win over old Mrs. G. Old Mrs. G, who was already looking forward to having a grandchild, immediately used the G family's inheritance rights to pressure David and arrange their marriage. As their wedding date approached, David and Chloe both sent me invitations. Ava, just say the word, and I can call off this wedding and give up the G family inheritance. Sister, when you're old, you have to admit defeat. What if David came back to chase you? I still won in the end. Welcome to witness my century wedding with David. I looked at these 2 invitations, my heart filled with mixed emotions. 7 years of feelings coming to an end. It would be false to say I had no emotions at all. If my guess was correct, the content in the entertainment magazine was likely embellished by Chloe. If I didn't go, some people would be disappointed. On the day of David and Chloe's wedding, I attended in formal attire. The guests saw me and started whispering, "Is that Mr. G's ex-wife? I can't believe she's that kind of person behind the scenes. Don't let her put on air fool you. She cheated on Mr. G quite a bit, otherwise, why would he divorce her? Compared to that, the current one is truly incomparable, pure and innocent. TSK, 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 stay away from her." What if she has some dirty disease? How unlucky. What is she doing here? Is she jealous that Mr. G and his new wife are happy? Is she here to ruin the wedding? Excuse me, miss, you can't enter without an invitation. An usher came to stop me. I directly took out both invitations. Are these enough? Apologies for the interruption. Could her 2 invitations be stolen? I wouldn't put it past her. Showing up at her ex-husband's wedding to cause trouble, she's really something. Seeing me arrive, David's eyes showed undeniable joy, but he didn't dare to speak to me because old Mrs. G was present. Just say the word, and he could call off the wedding? As always, it felt ironic. The ceremony began. Chloe made a stunning entrance, surrounded by flower children. When her eyes swept over me, the boastful intention was clear. Excuse me, but I'd like to interrupt. I lifted my skirt and slowly walked onto the stage. Ava, I knew you still felt. Before David could continue, I cut him off. I've bought this place. My dogs are having a blind date here today. Please vacate the premises as soon as possible. How dare she? She came to her ex-husband's wedding to make a scene. Seems the rumors about her being an unstable and jealous woman are true. Is she out of her mind? How can she lie like that? This is Summit Tower. It must cost at least 100 million. Does she have that kind of money? Today is my grandson's special day. Let's see who dares to cause trouble here. Old Mrs. G stood up, intimidating everyone. Ms. Jiang, you are already divorced from David. Making such a scene won't do you any good. Who says she's making a scene? This place is now the private property of Ms. Ava Jiang. We do not welcome anyone holding a wedding here. As for the breach of contract fee, we can afford to pay. Someone will contact you to settle the accounts. Alexander Sterling stood at the entrance, his aura cold and intimidating. This was the first time I had seen Alexander Sterling like this. Oh my God! No one told me Ava's lover was Mr. Pei. Are you crazy? How dare you say that? Tui, that's not what I meant. I hope Mr. Pei didn't hear me. Praying. Do you think it's too late for me to try and butter up to Ava now? You fickle person, no backbone. Old Mrs. G had intended to speak to Alexander Sterling amicably as an elder, but Alexander Sterling's few sentences left her speechless. Old Mrs. G's grandson cheated on his wife during their marriage and allowed his new mistress to spread rumors about his ex-wife. Is this the G family's values? Perhaps it's because the top beam is crooked, the lower beams follow suit? Alexander Sterling said slowly. However, if David hadn't cheated on his wife and Ava hadn't asked for a divorce, perhaps Ava and I wouldn't have had the chance to meet. I should thank old Mrs. G for raising such a good grandson. So Mr. Pei isn't the lover? They're in a proper relationship. Shut up. Don't stand near me. So Mr. G is a big, and Chloe is a serial mistress. I even bragged to someone that my roommate married into a wealthy family before I came out. Great, now I've completely lost face. How they managed to keep Chloe being a serial mistress so quiet? Don't they consider us good roommates? You're really sick. Hurry up and leave, they're clearing the place. Old Mrs. G, having lost face, severely scolded David and left early. Chloe and David were directly escorted away by the bodyguards Alexander Sterling brought. The legendary century wedding that everyone envied became the biggest joke in Coast Harbor. The entertainment magazine that had reported false information about me was acquired by the Sterling Group. David's affair with Chloe and Chloe's history as a serial mistress were published on the front page for a whole month. After learning about Chloe's terrible deeds, old Mrs. G fell seriously ill and took several months to recover. The child Chloe was carrying was given a paternity test as soon as it was born. The result showed no blood relation to David. Old Mrs. G immediately kicked them out without a word. To climb into a wealthy family, Chloe had been skipping classes and violating school rules repeatedly, leading to her expulsion. David often came to bother me, saying things like he regretted it, he was wrong, and he would change. It was meaningless, and I was tired of hearing it. It was truly annoying. Soon after, a company abroad sent me an offer. I told Alexander Sterling about it, frankly stating, I want to pursue my own life and won't be considering marriage again for a while. This time, I don't know how many years I'll be gone, maybe I'll never come back. Alexander Sterling, you don't have to wait for me. I admit Alexander Sterling was enough to make anyone's heart flutter. However, life isn't just about love. After escaping from the marriage, I had more time to focus on myself. I won't stop you from going abroad, but Ava, I can always buy a plane ticket to find you, can't I? The Sterling family also has a lot of international business. You don't think going abroad means parting ways forever, never to each other again, do you? Alexander Sterling smiled. To this, I found myself unable to retort. After I stopped going to the company, my colleagues sent me updates on David almost every day. Knowing I had resigned, to force me to tell him where I was going, David even started using his connections to poach many projects from the company. Their profits plummeted, forcing them to lay off employees to survive. In such a challenging market and economic downturn, David's actions were undoubtedly harming innocent people. The matter started because of me, so I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. Ava sister, maybe you should just swallow your pride and apologize to Mr. G. I really don't want to lose my job. A former colleague cried as she sent me a voice message. David was using others as leverage like this. Since the incident originated with me, I couldn't stand by and do nothing. You're starting a company? Alexander Sterling raised an eyebrow. I thought you'd want me to help you get revenge on David. The employees need wages, and the boss needs projects. By starting a company, I can solve their problems. With the Sterling Group's support, how could my company be bad? Getting revenge on David wouldn't benefit me in any way. When you want to sever all ties with someone, getting involved any further just feels wrong. The property I received from the divorce settlement over the years was enough to support the company's operations. And with a major figure like Alexander Sterling helping out, there was no reason not to use the opportunity. Everyone in Coast Harbor knew that Alexander Sterling's the woman he cherishes had started a company. No one dared not show me some respect. With Alexander Sterling's support, my company grew larger and larger, and I made a name for myself in the epicenter of Coast Harbor's business world. Later, I heard that Chloe had gone insane. She strangled her own child, yelling that he was a useless waste. Then She drove her car into David, severely injuring him. His lower body was truly ruined this time. David's friend came to find me personally, asking me to visit him. Ava, David really knows he was wrong. He actually loved you very much, he just couldn't see his own heart clearly. He couldn't see his own heart, so he could arbitrarily trample on others' hearts? I'm very busy right now. Show him out. I was looking through the project proposal in my hand, overwhelmed and had no time to deal with these irrelevant matters. Many years later, when someone asked me about this past, I thought about it, and my memories had long since blurred. Alexander Sterling prepared an entire building to propose to me. On the summit tower, his proposal message scrolled across the screen. A warm breeze blew by. I extended my hand, allowing the man in front of me to place the wedding ring on it. Stepping into marriage again required more courage than ever before. Life is long, and the future will be revealed in time. Through the long journey of life, love will always find its way home.